Hi, I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted cyber criminal, now good guy. Or, as the United States Secret Service called me, the original internet godfather. Now, how do you get that title? Well, 39 felonies because 38 just wasn't enough. A place on the United States most wanted list, I escaped from prison and I built and ran the first organized cybercrime community. It was called Shadow Crew. It was a precursor of today's darknet and darknet markets. It laid the foundation for the way modern cybercrime channels operate today. And yes, that shit will get you sent to prison. Deservedly so. Now, look, there's a whole story behind all that we ain't got time for today, because today, right now, it's time for the Brett Johnson Show. Today's episode, all about drop addresses, when we come back. Okay, so we are back to the Brett Johnson Show. And as you may notice, my voice is still not 100%. I'm guessing it's at 75 or 80% right now, but because I just got through shooting another episode right before this one, episode 24. So this is episode 25, all about drop addresses. I wanted to separate them because they handle specifically different topics. One is about abuse and overcoming that. This one is about crime, cybercrime specifically. It turns out that cyber criminals often need physical addresses. For example, if you're committing refund fraud, you start out by committing refund fraud by typically using your bank account, your name, your address. You hit Amazon, you hit Apple, you hit Microsoft Store for a laptop. You get it in, you claim it didn't show up, or you claim, hey, it wasn't in the box. Hey, the box is here, but it ain't here. So you claim that, or you tell them, hey, I'm going to send it back in for a refund. And you manipulate the tracking ID to make it appear that the merchant's got that item back, but they don't. So you get to keep the item and you get your money back. So if you're doing that, you have an address to start out with. But you tend to keep on doing that bullshit. Tend to keep on committing the fraud over and over and over. And finally, you run out of addresses. You use your address, you use your neighbor's address, you use your family's address. Then finally, you're like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to find a quote unquote drop address. A drop address is an address a criminal uses in order to have illegal goods delivered, not just financial cybercrime. You take all these dark web marketplaces that are out there, all these people who are buying pot. The idiots have the pot delivered to their own address. And you can go over on Reddit right now, and there are all kinds of dark web subreddits that talk about these criminals having, and I say criminals because guess what, guys? You are. If you're buying drugs illegally on the dark web, you are a criminal. You see all these people talking about, well, the USPS, they seized my package, man. Do I need to be concerned about that? Well, shit, yeah, you need to be concerned about that. They opened up your pot. They found it. You had it sent across state lines. It's a federal offense all of a sudden. Yeah, you need to worry about that. You definitely need to worry about that. And it's not just pot. I mean, people are buying fentanyl, they're buying meth, they're buying cocaine, heroin, opiates of all types of different sorts, benzos, everything else. It's not just the drug trade. It's also financial cyber criminals. These guys, if they're doing new account fraud, so someone goes on the dark web, they buy your personal information, which I can get your social, your date of birth for about $3.90 right now. So I buy your social, date of birth for $3.90. I go and get your credit report from there. Look at your credit report, find out where you don't have accounts set up. Say you don't have an account over at Best Buy or Chase or where have you. I'll open up an account in your name. Well, I have to get that credit card sent someplace. That someplace is a drop address. So the question becomes okay, how do criminals pick drop addresses? Unless you're the idiot that's having this shit sent to your physical address, your real home address. That's going to result in a knock at the door at some point in time. Unless you're that person, or you're living in an apartment complex and you're having it sent to the apartment right down the hall, or you're living in a house and you're having it sent to the house right across the street while your neighbors aren't at home. You figure you can get it like that. That's another recipe to get arrested. So how do more experienced criminals Pick and establish drop addresses. So we're not really going to talk about virtual drop addresses today. So there are virtual addresses. You can go on the Google. For those who have seen Logan Lucky, you can go on the Google and you can find any type of virtual address that you want to. You can find a virtual business address that you can use. So, you know, like a lot of these fly-by-night crypto companies, they will have a virtual business address. Oh, we have SafeMoon. We have offices in Amsterdam. Well, no, you've got a virtual drop address in Amsterdam is what you've got. So there you can Google for virtual business addresses that will give you a place to receive mail in another state or another country. You can also Google for virtual residential addresses, which will give you an address where you can have mail sent that's zoned for a residential type of address. Can you commit crime doing that? You certainly can. You can commit synthetic fraud. You can probably have drugs sent to those same addresses if you want to do that. But at the end of the day, you have to have that mail forwarded on to a physical drop address that you or an associate of yours is controlling, because you need those cards, you need that dope, whatever that is, okay? Whatever that item, whatever that illegal good is, you have to actually have an address, finally, that somewhat connects to you to get your product. So how do you do that? Well, it's not rocket science. It's not. Back when I was committing crime, what we did was we had the MLA access to that. So you could search for houses that were for sale in your area. And then you would go down and you would look at the house and figure out if that was a proper drop address. Or if we were looking at apartment complexes in a bigger city, they had this thing called the apartment guide, which they had at grocery stores and places like that. It was a little magazine where you would pick up an apartment guide, you'd go through and you'd find an apartment complex, you'd call the apartment complex, act like you were going to rent an apartment there, ask all the pertinent questions, how much is it, blah, 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 blah. As the call was ending, I'll come in and fill out the application. Oh, by the way, can you give me an apartment number of an empty apartment so I can call the utilities companies and get the average utility bill per month? And the apartment manager would always give you an empty apartment number. Well, that empty apartment number then became your drop address. From there, you would have to figure out, okay, what time does the mail run? USPS, UPS, FedEx. And usually you would have to go down there and kind of camp out to figure out when it would run. Or sometimes you could ask the apartment manager, what time does the mail run usually of the day? All right, and they would tell you. And that became your drop address. These days, the apartment guide, not really in existence. You've got the Google, so you can Google apartment complexes in the area. You can make that same type of phone call where you're like, hey, give me an empty apartment number so that I can figure out what the average bill is on the utilities per month. And they will do that, because you can call your local utility company and ask them, hey, for this address, what's the average bill? And they'll tell you. So it's a believable story, and it gives you a drop address. Most drop addresses today, the way you do it, you fire up Zillow, something like that. Zillow is a great program for this. So I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. So what I would do is I would start searching by zip codes in Zillow, or like Hoover or Vestavia Hills. Those are different little cities out in the interline area of Birmingham. So I would start searching for properties for sale there. I would find a property. I would look at the inside pictures of that property to see if it were staged. I'd like it staged. Meaning, is there furniture inside? Because nothing is going to be worse than FedEx or UPS coming up to the door and they actually glance inside and see the entire house empty. Chances are they're probably not going to leave your package on the doorstep at that point. So you kind of want it staged, or you want to make sure that if a delivery guy comes up to the door, that they can't tell that there's nothing inside of the house. So you make sure of that. You look at it, make sure see if the house looks nice, if it's in a decent area. Now, what type of area are you looking for? There's three types. There's upper class, middle class, and lower class. Which type of area am I looking for? Kind of a rhetorical question. I'm not looking for lower class neighborhoods, because that laptop or that credit card I may have delivered, somebody in that area might steal the shit. Not only that, but there's a lot of unemployment. So people are going to be home during the day. I don't want people home during the day because they may notice some of the insidious, nefarious shit that I'm doing. I don't need that. So I'm not going to pick lower class neighborhoods. Upper class neighborhoods, am I going to pick that? Probably not, because in upper class neighborhoods, it tends to be that a spouse is home during the day. Let me tell you, there is nothing worse than walking up on a porch to pick up a package or a piece of mail, and you've got it in your hand, and all of a sudden that front door opens and the person living there is looking at you like, what the hell? I've had it happen. It is not a comfortable feeling. It got so bad that I would carry around flyers for landscaping. So if I went on a porch, if I was doing porch piracy, which that happens when you're doing drop addresses, if I was doing porch piracy or just new account fraud, something like that, and I went up on a porch and somebody just happened to open the door, I would say, oh, I was just moving this package out of the way so nobody could see it. Oh, by the way, I'm offering landscaping businesses, landscaping services, and everything would kind of wash away just fine at that point. So you don't want upper class because someone is at the house at the same time, which means middle class. Middle class is great because it tends to be a lot of the people in those houses, they work during the day, both spouses. You like that. It's a working class area. We love that type of stuff. Most people are gone during the day. Now, what type of house am I looking for? A lot of people think that, the more isolated the house, the more away from it is from everybody else, that's better. I really don't like drop addresses like that. I like drop addresses where the homes are close together, where the mailbox is right next to the street. That way, if I'm popping the mailbox, if I'm just driving up to the mailbox, I can just drive up, pop the mailbox open, get the mail out of there without even getting out of the car. Do it quickly. Not only that, but I like a doorway, a porch, where I can see from the street if there's a piece of mail or a package at the door. Because there's nothing worse than having to drive up in the driveway 3 or 4 times to see if you've got a piece of mail on the porch. So you want that area visible as you're driving by. I like the houses close together because it tends to be that a lot of the neighbors, they pull their front blinds so no one can see in. Well, guess what? No one can see in, you're right. But that also means that no one can see out. So no one's paying attention to what's going on in the neighborhood. So working class neighborhood, houses close together, mailboxes close to the street, unsecured, porches that are unobscured from the roadway as well, so you can see everything that's on the porch, blinds that are drawn by the neighbors so they can't pay attention to what's going outside. That is a wonderful neighborhood to be used to come up with drop addresses. And I mentioned just a second ago, not only are drop addresses good, but it also lends into porch piracy. So I'll set up a drop address in a neighborhood for new account fraud or whatever piece of mail or package I'm having delivered from credit card theft. I'll set that up, go down in the area, and porch piracy is oftentimes a crime of opportunity. So you're going to your drop address, you're already ready to get your dropped package, your illegal goods, and you just happen to notice that somebody has had a laptop delivered on their porch, or a 65-inch TV. Well, that 65-inch TV is not your TV. It's my TV. It just happens to be on your porch. So it becomes a crime of opportunity, which brings into play this idea about the doorbell cameras, right? The Ring cameras and everything. We saw a lot of commercials out there about criminals, the Ring doorbell system. We can stop criminals. We stop crime dead in its tracks. Well, not really. It's a tool, is all it is. It's a tool. So what tends to happen is you buy the Ring doorbell camera, you set it up right when you begin with, because you set it up where it's pointed outside and it captures every single thing that comes across the street, everyone that's walking down the street, the squirrels that are in the front yard, the dogs that are barking. It gives you an alert on every single thing. Then about 3 days later, after you've gotten 40,000 alerts for bullshit, you decide you've had enough of that. You turn the alerts off and you go outside and you fix the camera to where it's just pointing directly at your porch. Well, me in the area for drop addresses, what I do is I'm driving in to pick up my stolen laptop or my credit cards that I've set up in somebody else's name. I come into the area, I drive by, I see my TV on your porch, that 65-inch they've delivered that you think you're going to get. You're not. So I see it. The first pass, I see the television, I circle the block, come around the second pass, see that you've got the Ring doorbell system. I already know that you've got probably only got it set up where it's just pointed at your porch. I come back the third time, I park out of shot of what may be the camera. I'm already wearing the ball cap or the hoodie, pull that up. come up to Porch, pick up my television, maybe even hunker down, wave at the camera. I know you're going to get the notification, but I also know that you can't notify law enforcement and they can't get to the area in time to stop me. So understand that a Ring camera, and that's just kind of a segue, understand that a Ring camera is simply a tool. It's a tool that I like, but use it properly. If you're going to have a tool, use it properly. Have it where it's pointed out, capturing everything. Even though those notifications may be a nuisance, it captures everything. The more people who have these and have them set up properly, you get a criminal activity in your neighborhood, everyone can put their cameras together and you can figure out who the guy is that's coming in and committing crime, not just stealing packages, maybe B&E, stuff like that. So come in and set up these tools properly. So that's basically drop addresses. This is not a very long episode today. Criminals need these addresses in order to have illegal goods delivered. Think credit cards set up in your name. Think drugs that are being trafficked. Any type of physical cybercrime that requires something to be delivered, maybe fake IDs. Only an idiot would have a fake ID delivered to an address that's associated with him. So he's going to try to use, a smart guy, smart criminal will try to use a drop address. If you understand how criminals are picking these drop addresses, I talked about middle-class neighborhoods. I talked about, so what happens is a criminal picks something on Zillow. He finds what he thinks is a good target. He actually travels down to the neighborhood right there to see first, hey, is someone living in the house? If they are, is that a problem? Well, it's not a problem if the mail is delivered while those people are gone. So that means you have to camp out in the neighborhood to figure out when USPS, FedEx, UPS arrives and delivers, because if the mail is delivered at 7 p.m. at night when everyone is home, that's useless to you. So the mail needs to be delivered when no one is in the neighborhood. Very, very few people are there. Most people are at work. So you need to figure that out. You need to know the entryways and the exit ways of the neighborhood. If the neighborhood's just got one entry, that is a problem, because you may not be able to get out of that neighborhood if something goes awry, and sometimes things go awry. So you need to know this as someone living in your neighborhood, what criminals are looking for when they're picking these drop addresses, because sometimes it's not just that they're having these packages delivered. Sometimes it's a crime of opportunity. They see something in your yard, something on your porch, they're going to go ahead and grab that shit too. And you need to make sure your neighborhood is protected from crime in general. This is what criminals look for. If you're pulling your blinds of a day so no one can see in, that means no one can see out. You're not paying attention. I've talked about that before, that situational awareness, being aware of your environment, both online and in the physical world. Know what criminals are looking for, take care of it from there. I live in a neighborhood that has one exit way, one entryway, period. I also live in a neighborhood where the majority of people in this neighborhood are more retired type people. So they're home during the day. Not only are they home during the day, but they've got a Facebook group where they share information about the neighborhood with everyone all the time. If there's any type of unique car, it's not a big neighborhood I'm in. That's another good thing. I look for a bigger neighborhood if I'm running drop addresses. That way, a car that usually doesn't frequent that neighborhood doesn't really stand out. I'm in a small neighborhood. There's not a lot of houses here. So a car that doesn't belong here stands out. Our neighborhood watch community is very good, that if they see a car that doesn't belong here, they'll mention it. We've got a law enforcement officer that lives in this community as well. So you've got all these things, and our neighborhood watch community is very active. You need to be aware of that. If you don't have a neighborhood watch community, why? If you don't have a Facebook group that's sharing things about the neighborhood, why? And it should be just an invite only Facebook group, not something that everyone can access. You need to be sharing these things, talking about the problems, talking about the suspicious activities in the neighborhood, everything else. You need to be aware of your environment online and offline, because there are predators out there. Now, look, I wanted this to be a short video. We're going to end it right there, because I talked about how criminals pick up drop addresses, talked about some of the virtual stuff as well, talked about what I look for, talking about being aware of your environment. So I think I've done everything I need to do with this video. I'm Brett Johnson. What do we say? Because this is important with this. Stay safe, stay secure and stay vigilant. Know your environment, what's happening in your area. More than that, this is the Brett Johnson Show. At the end of the day, just do the right damn thing. I'm Brett Johnson. Thank you for listening. Until next time.